So we discussed what is generator and how to work with the generator. If we want to generate the value according to our requirement, then we need to create a custom generator class by implementing identifier generator. In that there is a method called generate method. We need to override that method and we need to write the logic for that. Fine. So today we are talking about composite primary keys. Composite primary keys. So we already know what is a primary key. What is primary key? Combination of not null plus unique value is called as a primary key. If you want to have more than one primary key column in the table, then that is called as composite primary key. More than one primary key column in table is called as composite primary key. Now here, let me create one Spring Boot application and let me show you how to work with composite primary key. New starter project. Let me take 12 data JPA, composite PK, composite primary key application, Maven Java. Next, boot Lombok MySQL data JPA. I'm not selecting any web dependency. Lombok dependency, MySQL driver and data JPA. Next, finish. Now, so in this project also, I need data source properties. So let me copy the properties from here. Keep that in the project. Yeah, data source properties are available. That's it. Next one, we need to create our entity class. So here I'm taking one class with a name called account. I'm taking a class with a name called account. This class I'm taking inside entity package account. So here generally in the account, I will take the variables private integer account ID and private string holder name, private string account type. Account ID, account holder name, account type and private string branch will be available. Okay. Now account ID, account number also will be available. Private long account number. ID, number, holder name and account type available. Let me take @data. It is Lombok annotation. And I want to represent this as an entity class. For that I will use @entity. If you don't want to use the table name, by default it will take class name as a table name. Now here, if I want to use only account ID as a primary key, then I can specify @ID. What is the meaning of this @ID? @ID represents, it is a primary key column variable. Primary key column variable. Now I want to take more primary key column. So if you want to take more than one primary key column, let us create another class called account PK. I'm taking another class called account PK. In this class, what all the things that you want to keep as a primary key, you need to represent. Account ID, I want as a primary key. Account number, or else let me remove account ID. Account number and account type, I want to take as a primary key. What is the type of the account? Whether it is a savings account and personal account, I want to take that as a primary key. Now here, I'm keeping only holder name and a branch. Okay. Now, when you want to represent a composite primary key, composite primary key means a table will contain more than one primary key column. Earlier, we used to create one entity class. For that one entity class, we are creating one repository. When you want to represent more than one primary key column, all the primary key columns will be created in a separate class. All the primary key columns will be created in a separate class, and that primary key columns class will be represented here, account to PK. right? Account PK. Account PK like this. So what is this account PK class is representing? Account PK class is representing all the primary key columns we want to use in our table. Now account.java is available, account pk.java is available. So two classes are available. Can I say two entities are available? No, only one entity class. Entity is only one, but there is a normal Java class available. In this class, I am not writing @entity. In this Java class, I am taking only two variables. These two variables I want to consider as primary keys. One primary key or more than one primary key? More than one primary key available. That is called composite primary key. So to represent this composite primary key, I will use one annotation called embedded ID. I will use one annotation called embedded ID. Embeddable here, sorry. Here I'm using one annotation called @embeddable. And here we are going to represent embedded ID. Here we need to specify one annotation called embedded ID. So embeddable is the annotation which is representing all the variables that we want to represent as primary keys. And here in the account class, I'm writing account PK as a variable. For this, I'm using @embedded ID. Embedded ID variable represent a class which contains all the primary keys of our table. Embeddable annotation I'm using at the class level. Embedded ID annotation I'm using at the variable level. Now let us create a repository for that. New class. Let me create one repo. It is my account repo. Account repository I'm creating. Account repository extends the properties from JPA repository. Extends the properties from JPA repository. It should be interface, not class. So interface extends from JPA repository. There are two parameters available. Two arguments are there. What are those? First one is representing entity type. Second one is ID, data type of the primary key. Earlier, I have given integer as a primary key or long as a primary key. But we have one primary key or we have more than one primary key? More than one primary key. So my data type is account PK. Account PK is a class which is representing all the primary keys of our table. Right? Like this we are writing public interface account repo extends from JPA repository. Are you guys able to follow me? Yes, here account.java is available. Here account pk.java is available. Account repo.java is available. Right. Now go to start class. I want to get the return type of this method. What is the return type of this method? The return type of this method is configurable application context. Now let me get the repository bean. How to get the bean from the IOC container? How to get the bean from IOC container? By using context dot get bean of account repo dot class. Account repo dot class. Okay. Now what is the return type of this method? What is the return type of this method? Bean object we are getting. Account repository bean object we are getting. And here first let me set the data for account PK. PK is equal to new account PK, right? PK dot set account number. Some number I'm setting for that. Okay. Then PK dot set account type. It is savings account. Something like this. I'm setting the data for account PK object. In that PK object, I'm setting the account number and I'm setting the account type. Then finally, I'm creating the object for account class. Account is equal to new account, right? Then I'm going to set account dot setup holder name, then branch name, account dot set branch name, set branch, Amirpet. Okay, then account dot set account pk. I'm setting my pk object. Right, so see here how I am setting the data. I'm getting the repository bean object. Okay, first I'm creating the object for account pk. What is account pk? It is a embeddable class. It is representing all the primary keys of the table. It is representing all the primary keys of the table. After setting the data to account pk, then I am setting the data to my actual entity class. What is my entity class? Account is my entity class. In the account class, how many primary keys are there? Account pk class is representing the primary key that we are representing by using embedded id. Now let me save this record. Bean dot save of account object. Bean dot save of account object. System dot out dot println record saved. Record saved. Right. Now go to database and check it. Our table is available or not available. So account is a new entity I'm taking. Table will not be available. What is a DDL auto? Table should be created. Now go to database. Here show as use SBMS show tables. Now in my database, how many tables are available now? How many tables are available now? 3 tables available: book, employee table, and Hibernate sequences. Now account table is not available. If I want to map this to a different table name, then what I can do? Table name is equal to account underscore table. Account underscore table. With that name, this is the table name. This is the class name. This Java class should be mapped with this table. This Java class should be mapped with this table. Now run this program. Are you guys able to understand what is the code I am writing? I have created one entity class. In that entity class, I'm using another class as a reference. That class is an embedded class. That class contains the variables which I want to use as primary keys. Okay, you may ask a question. Sir, can we use a generator here? What is the purpose of generator? What is the purpose of generator? Generator may generate the value. Generator is used to generate the value for primary key. But remember, generators can be used only if you have primary key column. If you have composite primary key, you cannot go for generator. Generators are not applicable for composite primary keys. Now, if you have composite primary keys, you need to set the values manually. Here what I am doing, setting composite keys. Composite key values. Setting entity data. Setting entity data. And here I'm calling saving the entity. Saving the entity object. Setting the values for composite keys and setting the entity data. Now here setting PK object, primary key object. What are the keys that I want to use as primary keys? Fine. Now let me run this application, run as boot application. Okay, fine. It is failed. What is the exception? Mapping exception. Can you read it? Composite ID class must implement a serializable. When you are having a class which is representing the primary key, that a class should implement serializable interface. What is a serializable? Marker interface. What is the use of implementing marker interface? We are giving a notification to our JVM, or we are giving the notification to our JPA. So it is a special instruction we are giving for the JPA. Now run this, run as boot application. Yes, now can you see table is created and record is inserted. Let us take the query, create a table. Let us see here any difference in the table creation. Create account table, account type, varchar, not null, branch, holder name, and primary key. How many primary keys are there? Account number is a primary key, account type is a primary key. If you have only one primary key, that one column we will pass for the primary key. If you have more than one primary key, like this we can pass primary key. Now, account number is a primary key, account type is also a primary key. More than one primary key column in the table. So to represent, creating a table, below is the syntax, below is the SQL query to create a table with multiple primary key columns. With multiple primary key columns. Got it? So more than one primary key column in the table. Below is the SQL query to create a table with multiple primary key columns. Now, to work with composite primary keys, we will use below two annotations. What are those two annotations available, guys? First one is @embeddable and the second one is @embedded ID. Embeddable. It is used class to it is used at a class to represent primary key columns. Now, class level annotation to represent primary key columns. Now, what is embedded ID? Variable level annotation to represent embeddable class. To represent embeddable and embedded ID. So I'm taking account PK as a embeddable class, and that is used at the account class as a embedded ID. So with this, I'm able to represent composite primary key. Now, when we are having a composite primary key, our repository should have ID type as a account PK. Earlier, we used it to specify as integer and long, but now I am specifying the data type as a account PK. Now fine, this is my interface. Let us check the database table and see the data is inserted or not. Show tables, select star from account table. Select star from account table. That's it. Now select this query, execute. Can you see account number, account type, branch and holder name available? Now I want to retrieve a record from the table. So can you tell me how to retrieve a record from the table? How can we retrieve the record from the table? Find by ID. If you want to retrieve all the records from the table, we know a method called find all method. Now I want to retrieve a record by using find by ID. Can you tell me the syntax? Bean dot find by ID. What is the parameter for the find by ID? One ID or account PK object. Why we need to set account PK object? Our entity does not have one primary key. Our entity having multiple primary keys. If your table is having one primary key, then you can pass find by ID as 101 or 102. But this time, my primary key is a class, right? A class which is representing the primary keys. So what I need to do is, I need to create the data. I need to create the account PK object. I need to set the data for account PK object. Then I need to go for bean dot find by ID and I will pass the PK object. What is the return type? Optional object. Now, if find by ID dot is present, then system dot out dot println find by ID dot get. I want to get that object. When you have single primary key, find by ID method will take that primary key value. When you have multiple primary keys, the primary keys data we need to set in the object. That object parameter for the find by ID. Now let me execute this program, run as boot application. Am I able to retrieve the record? Yes, we are able to retrieve the record. So with this, we are able to understand what is composite primary key and how to work with composite primary key. To work with the composite primary key, can I use generators? Can I use generators to work with composite primary key? No. When your entity class is having composite primary key, we need to set the values manually. We need to set the values manually. Okay. Now, generators will not support for composite primary keys. Composite primary keys. And note, composite primary keys representing class should implement serializable interface. That is also mandatory point. Note. Now, the class which is representing primary keys, composite keys should implement serializable interface. What is the serializable interface? It is a marker interface. In several interviews, they will ask a question. Marker interface means no methods na. Then why to implement that interface? Why to implement that interface? It is used to provide some special instructions to our JVM. Right. What is a composite primary key, guys? What is composite primary keys? More than one primary key column in the table is called composite primary key. How to create a table with multiple primary keys? Primary key, which columns you want to represent as primary key, you can specify. Can I take 3 columns as primary key? It is more than one. It can be 2, it can be 3, it can be 4, it can be 5. It depends on your requirement. Now I am taking 2 columns as the primary keys. To work with the composite primary keys, we will use below 2 annotations. One is embeddable, another one is embedded ID. Embeddable we are using at the class level. That class is representing all the primary keys of our table. Account PK class available. In this class I am taking 2 variables. As this class is representing the primary keys, it has to implement serializable interface. And we are having a class called account class. In the account class, what we have? 2 variables. These are non-primary keys, holder name and branch name. And this is a account PK embedded ID. What is the meaning of embedded ID? It is representing all the primary keys of the table. So I'm extending from JPA repository. I'm setting the data for PK object. PK object I'm setting to entity object. I'm saving that object. If I want to retrieve for the find by ID method, I need to go for PK. Now in this project, I want to retrieve the records based on the branch name. I want to retrieve the records based on the branch name. How can I do that? Yes, you need to go for a custom query or you need to go for find by methods. Got it? Yes. What is the time stamping in the project? Creation time and updated time. Can I use the creation time and updated time here? Yes, we can use creation time and updated time in this project so that we can track when our record is created, when our record is updated, we can track that data. Perfect. Good. Next one, in the Spring Boot, one important concept, guys, that is profiles in the Spring Boot. What is the concept? Profiles in the Spring Boot. To understand the profiles, we need to understand a concept called environments in the project. We need to understand a concept called environments in the project. Now, I don't know, I did not remember. Yeah. So here we discussed that code will be available into GitHub. Developers will write the code and developers will store that code into GitHub repository. Assume that this is my dev team. Dev team is writing the code and the dev team will push that code into GitHub repository. After pushing the code into the GitHub repository, can we directly take that and deploy in the server and deliver to the client? No. Why? Yeah, directly can they deploy into production? What is the production? What is the meaning of production? What is the meaning of production? Right. Production nothing but live environment. Production nothing but live environment. So we are writing the code. We are storing the code into GitHub. Once we store the code in the GitHub, do you think that Operations team will take the code and directly deploy in the production. Will they deploy in the production directly? No. So once our development is completed, code will not be deployed into production directly. First, the code will be deployed into dev environment. Okay. Then it will be deployed into sit environment. Then it will go for UAT. Then it will go for pilot. Finally, it will go for production. This SIT is also called as QA. Like this, in the real time, guys, our project will have multiple environments. In the real time, our project will be having multiple environments. So what are those environments? Dev environment is available, sit environment is available, UAT, pilot, and prod. Now here, for every environment, separate database will be available. Got it? For every environment, we will be having a separate database. Let me call it as a prod. Prod environment is there. Perfect. So these are called as environments of our application. Now here, for the dev environment, there will be a dev database. For sit environment, there will be a sit database. Similarly, UAT database will be available, and pilot database will be available, and prod database will be available. Pilot DB and prod DB also will be available. For every environment, separate database will be maintained by our project. When our code is running in the dev environment, it should connect to the dev database. When it is running in the sit environment, it should connect to the sit database. When it is running in the UAT, connect to the UAT database. Like this, our project is having multiple environments, and for every environment, separate database is available. For every environment, separate database is available. For every database, credentials will be different. Every database will have its own credentials, right? Now, currently in my project, I'm configuring database credentials here. What is the database name I'm using? SVMS I'm using as a database name. Now fine, here, let me go to the database. Let me create one database. Here, create database. I'm creating as a devdb. This is my database. Now create a database devdb created. Similarly, create a database sitdb. Okay, I'm creating another database called sitdb. Similarly, I'm creating a database, create a database UATDB, and create this database and go for proddb. Create a database, pilot or whatever it is. Pilot DB is available, and create this. Prod DB, production database. Create database prod DB. Create database prod DB. Now create it. So total there are 5 databases available in the project. Currently, I am running in the dev environment. I will configure the database name as devdb. I'm configuring the database name as devdb. Fine. I will commit my code to Git repository. So when they deploy this code will connect to which database? This code will be deployed to dev database. For dev database, username, password, URL configured. Tomorrow, my code development is completed. My code testing is also completed. Now, I want to deliver this code to the SIT team. Software integration assurance team will be available. Software testers will be available. Those testers want to test our application. When testers wants to test our application should connect to the SIT database, not to the dev database. In my project, there are 5 environments available: dev environment, sit environment, UAT environment, pilot environment, and prod environment. For why these many environments? For testing purpose. These environments are used for testing purpose. Dev environment be used by developers. SIT will be used by testers. UAT will be used by client. Client will test our application. UAT stands for user acceptance testing. UAT stands for user acceptance testing. Then pilot environment is available. Pilot environment is nothing but pre-production environment. Before deploying the project in the live environment, that will be deployed to pilot environment. Once the pilot testing is completed, then it will go to prod environment. What is the meaning of a prod? It is a live application. Live database will be available. Now, every project will have multiple environments in the real time. Every project will have multiple environments in the real time. Okay, so environments are used to test our application. Environments are used to test our application before delivering to the client. Before delivering to the client, what environment we can see? Dev environment we can see, and SIT environment we can see, and we can go for UAT environment, and we can go for pilot environment, and finally we can go for prod environment. Prod environment is called as live environment. Who will use this dev environment? Developers. Developers will use for integration testing. In your system, you will develop the code. You will connect it to one database. Whenever all the developers code is integrated, that will connect it to the dev environment, right? Developers will use it for code integration testing. For code integration, we'll use it for code integration testing. What is the meaning of code integration testing? My code is there, your code is there, your code is there. In local, our code is working. When the code is integrated in the GitHub, there may be chance of getting some problem. When all the developers code is integrated in the GitHub, developers should test the code is working as expected or not. For that, we will go for dev environment. Dev environment will be used by developers for code integration testing. What is the SIT environment? Testers will use it for application end-to-end testing. Application end-to-end testing. That is called as functional testing. System integration testing, that will done by testers. Testers will use the SIT environment for application end-to-end testing. Once the testers testing is completed, then it will go to UAT. UAT stands for user acceptance testing. Client or client side team. Client or client side team will use it for acceptance testing. Whether client should accept this project or should not accept this project will be decided in the UAT. What is the quality of the project? Client will verify. If quality is good, client will say go. Go means go for production deployment. No go means production deployment cancelled. Based on the quality of the project, in the UAT, when the project is in the UAT, client will test that application. Client will tell go or no go. In this UAT, client will decide. Client or client side team. Client or client side team will decide go or no go. What is the meaning of go or no go? Go means project development testing is success. I'm happy with the delivery. Go for the production deployment. When the project is deployed in the production, client will pay the money. Suppose client say that quality is not good, no go. What is the meaning of no go? Client is not happy with our work, so client don't want to take our project now. No go. If it is a no go, money client will not pay the money. If it is a no go, then what is the problem? Our work is not having quality. Our development is not good. Our testing is not good. It will affect on team's performance. We need to give the quality code for the testing. Once our testing is completed, it will go for the UAT. Suppose there are 100 bugs in the UAT. There are 100 bugs in the UAT. Then when the client identify 100 bugs in the UAT, manager will scold testers or manager will scold developers? Testers. They already tested, right? Why they did not find those bugs? What they have done? What kind of testing they have done? Developers has written the code. We have given to the tester. Tester has to test our code. Tester tested. Testers told that application is good. There are no bugs in the application. When tester told that there are no bugs in the application, then only we will deploy to the UAT. In the UAT, client identified there are 100 bugs available. It is no go. Then manager will call testers for a meeting. Right? What testing you guys has done? Client identified 100 bugs. Why you guys are not able to identify these bugs? That means your testing is not happening properly. Because of your testing, our project is in the no-go. Project is in the no-go means client is not happy, client is not giving the money. The overall loss for the company. Are you guys clear? Suppose if testers identified 100 bugs in the SIT, then they will call the developers for a meeting. What development you have done? Testers are finding 100 bugs in your code. Your development does not have the quality. Okay. Once the project is passed in the SIT, then we are safe. As a developer, we are safe once the project passed in the SIT. If the project is passed in the SIT, why we are safe? They have done the testing. They told that code is good. Code is good. As they told that code is good, we deploy to UAT. In the UAT, client identified the bug. When the client identified, that will affect on the SIT team. If the SIT team identify the bug, that will affect on the development team. Okay, guys. So like this, in the project, multiple environments will be available. What is the environment? Environment nothing but a platform which is used to run our application. I am running my code in my system. My code, your code, that person code, every developer code is available in the GitHub. Now, from the GitHub, directly we cannot deploy the code for the production because we don't know how the code is behaving. That's why first that code will be deployed to dev environment. Developers will test it. After deployed to the dev environment, then once the developer testing is completed, code will be deployed to SIT. Testers will test it. Once the tester testing is completed, it will go to UAT. Client will test it. In the UAT testing, client will decide go or no go. Go means good, go for production. No go means does not have a quality. Client is not going to accept that. Now, once UAT is a success, then it will go to pilot. Then finally it will go to production. Production means it is a live environment. Now we are accessing Gmail website. That means Gmail code is in the production environment. When they want to make some code changes, once the code is modified, directly it will not deploy to the production. First code will deploy to dev environment. Developers has to test it. Then code will be deployed to SIT. Testers will test it. Then code will be deployed to UAT. Client will test it. Finally, code will be deployed to pilot. Once the pilot testing, what is the pilot testing? Pilot testing means real data testing. Application will be tested. Whenever people are testing the application, they will enter username as ABC, email ID as abc@gmail.com, mobile number 1234 like that. But in the pilot, application should be tested with the live database. Okay, whatever the data available in the production, they will copy the data into environment. Application will be tested with the real data. Real data testing will happen here. Real data testing will happen. Once the pilot testing is completed, then finally our project will go to production environment. Production environment is nothing but live environment. Okay. Now here, what is a environment? What is a environment, guys? Environment means a platform which is used to run our application. What are the common environment we discussed in the GitHub branches? What is the purpose of GitHub branches? Multiple code bases. Develop a branch code I will deploy into dev environment. QA branch code I will deploy into SIT environment. UAT branch code I will deploy to UAT environment. Release branch code I will deploy to production environment. Like this, multiple environments will be available. In all the environments, only one database. Every environment will have its own database. Come on. All environments will use the same database, or environment to environment database will be different. Database will be different. Now let's observe. When I am developing that project, I connected to dev database. For dev database, there is one username and there is one password. Okay, and this is dev database URL. My code is connecting to dev database. Then code is available in the GitHub. Now DevOps engineer should deploy the code into SIT environment. Can they deploy the code as it is, or they need to modify the database properties? Why they need to modify database properties? Why they need to modify database properties? Here in my properties, currently dev database configuration is available. When the code is deploying to SIT, they need to change it to SIT database. They need to change it to SIT database. The username is SIT database and SIT@123 like this. When I want to deploy to UAT, again the code configuration UATDB, username will be UAT and password will be UAT. URL also will change. When they're deploying to production, again prod database will be available. We need to modify database credentials. Okay, daily 30 times we are deploying our project. Then what is the problem? 30 times I want to deploy my code into dev, SIT, UAT, pilot and prod. What is the problem? What is the problem? Every time we need to modify database credentials. Are you guys getting my point? So I'm having one properties file. In this properties file, I'm configuring my data source properties. I'm having one properties file. In this properties file, I'm configuring my data source properties. Now with these properties, my application can connect with the UAT database. Tomorrow, I want to deploy my code into dev environment. Then, can I use the code as it is, or I need to modify the properties? I need to modify the properties. 10 o'clock, I have deployed to dev. 10:15, I want to deploy to SIT. 10:30, deploy to UAT. 11 o'clock, pilot. 12 o'clock, production. Again, after that, one more code change happened. Again, deploy to dev, deploy to SIT, UAT, pilot, production. Evening also, I want to deploy all the environments. What is the challenge here? What is the challenge here? Right. When you want to deploy the code into multiple environments, changing data source properties is difficult. And when we are changing the properties multiple times, there is a chance of doing mistakes also. Yes or no, guys? If we do the mistake in the configuration, what is the problem? Our code cannot connect to the correct database. Our code cannot connect to the database. Now here, we are trying to understand every project will have multiple environments in the real time. Are you able to follow me? Right. In every project, multiple environments will be available. Environments are used to test our application before delivering to the client. What is environment? Environment means platform to run our application. To run our application. Here server will be available, application server and DB server, log server, etc. So all these things will be used. Application server, right? One virtual machine, I can say Linux VM. In one Linux VM, I want to run this application. One Linux VM for dev environment, one database server for the dev environment, one log server for the dev environment. Multiple machines will be available in order to run our application. Environment means a platform to run our application. We can see below environments in the real time. We can see below environments in the real time. What are those? Dev, Seat, UAT, Pilot and Prod. What is the dev environment? Who will use the dev environment? Dev environment will be used by developers for code integration testing. What is SIT? SIT environment, system integration testing. That will be used by testers to test our application. Once a tester tests the application, testers will sign off. Testers will give you a certificate for the project. Our testing is completed. You can go for UAT. Once SIT completed, we will go for the UAT. What is the meaning of UAT? User acceptance testing. Client will test our project. Client will decide go or no go. What is the meaning of go here? Go here, approved for production deployment. Approved for production deployment. What is no go here? What is the meaning of no go? Denied for production deployment. If the project got go signal, then project management will give party for the team members, because whatever the work that we are doing from last 2 months or 3 months, that is liked by the client, they have given the approval. If you get the go in the project, party will be available. They will take you to the resort or they will take you to one hotel, lunch, dinner, party will be available. If it is no go, meetings will be available. Testers, please come to our cabin. After testers, developers, please come to our cabin. Gift will be given to you in the meeting. They will give you gifts in the meeting when there is no go. When there is a go, party will be available. If it is no go, gift they will provide you. You can imagine. Right. I will tell you. Guys, in my project, one funny incident happened. That project is a very big project. As I told you, today morning I have seen you Splunk software, RI Bridges. That is a US government project that we have developed from the Deloitte company. Still the project is running in the company, but I left that company. Still the project is going on. We are having 20 members database team. 20 members database team is available because we are having 5,000 tables in the database. Lot of requests will be available. Dev tables, dev environment, SIT environment, UAT, pilot, production, like that. Several environments will be available. Now, when we want to create one table or when we want to delete one table in the dev environment or SIT or UAT or pilot or prod, we will not have the access. Only database team will have the access. If I want to delete one table from the database, or if I want to create a table in the database, I need to send a request to my DevOps, my database team. That database team will see my script and will execute that script in the database. They will have write permission. I'm a developer, I will have read permission. Got it? In my project, one of our team member send a request for the DB team to delete one table. The table is available in the database. Earlier we created. Now we don't need the table. One of our team member sent a request for the database team to delete one table. That person working from morning, so many requests he is getting to delete the table, to insert the table, create the table. lot of requests are coming. By mistake, he deleted a database table in the production environment. But production database table got deleted. After half an hour, so many calls are coming to the project manager, project director, project team leads and all. Project is not working in the production. Why project is not working in the production? All of a sudden, all the developers connected to the Splunk started checking the log file. Table does not exist. Table does not exist. Table does not exist. So application is trying to get the data from the table. That table is deleted. Then what will happen? Literally, that person got shocked in the AC, in the central AC, he got the sweating. Because within half an hour, they tracked it. From which system the table got deleted. As that person name is Karthik. From Karthik system, from the Karthik system IP address, table got deleted. Then they call the Karthik. Karthik, what you have done? I have not done anything. Because he also don't know that he deleted a table in the prod. He is still thinking that he deleted in the dev environment. But actually database deleted in the prod environment. So as the database deleted in the prod environment, application stopped for 1 hour. The real project, government project stopped for 1 hour. So such kind of problems will happen. So we need to be very careful when we are dealing with the databases. Right. What happened? So seriously, I mean, generally if you think, will anybody do it wantedly? जानबूझ के करते हैं क्या कोई ऐसा? No, right? By mistake, he has done that. Project management supported for him. So project manager, my project delivery head, is a 20 years experienced person. He's a very good human being. He has taken that person to his room. So you don't, because that person is literally crying on the floor. Because he did not do that wantedly. By mistake it happened. Because of his mistake, project got stopped. Client is very serious because it is a government project in the US. It is a government project. Client business is stopped in the market. So clients called to the company. Company called to the managers. All that nonsense is happening. My project delivery head taken that person to his cabin and he did not scold. Because that person already crying. Kya kar sakte? Can manager scold that person now? If he is scolded, he will get heart attack because already in the tension. So management supported and they recreated the table. They have backup in the database. So for every 1 hour, our database will be taken backup, right? So last 1 hour data we lost. The previous backup data they dumped into the table. They recreated the table. But within 1 hour, whatever the client request came, almost 70 to 80 requests, we lost. That business is lost. We can't do anything for that. For every 1 hour, database backup will happen. So previous hour data, they recreated the table with the previous data, right? But that person did not come to office for 1 week because he got fever. He got tension. Because you can imagine that situation. Because of that one guy, the project is stopped. He will have that fear. But management supported did not do anything, right? So told that next time, be careful, like that they have samjhata. Right. But that was horrible situation. Can you imagine yourself in that situation? What will happen? Literally, he cried on the floor. And sometimes doing such kind of mistakes also a good thing for our profile. Now every person in the floor know who is Karthik. He got that identity, special treatment. Karthik aa raha hai. Hi Karthik, how are you? Everybody will recognize that person, right? Right? Yeah. So till that time, some people don't know who is Karthik in the database. He is a junior database developer. From that day, everybody will recognize Karthik. Karthik is having a VIP treatment in the floor. Good. Fine. So we are trying to understand what is environment in the project. Can you tell me what is the environment in the project? Environment means a platform which is used to run our application. What are the environments we can see in the real time? Dev environment, SIT environment, UAT environment, and pilot environment. Dev environment, developers will use it for integration testing. SIT, testers will use it for end-to-end testing. UAT, client will use it for acceptance. Pilot, it is pre-prod environment for live data, testing with live data. Testing with live data. Prod environment, it is nothing but live environment. Prod is called live environment. End users will access our production application. Right. Now, when you want to deploy your code into multiple environments, then what is the problem? What is, if I want to deploy my code into multiple environments, all the environments are connecting to single database. Every environment is having a separate database. Every environment will have a separate database. So the point that we need to remember, every environment will have its own database. Every environment will have its own database, right? When we are deploying our application to particular environment, we need to configure that database configuration properties in the properties file. Are you understanding the challenge here? Now, this is my application.properties file. I want to deploy the code into dev environment. Then I need to change my data source properties to dev environment. And if I want to deploy to SIT environment, I need to change it to SIT environment. If I want to deploy to the production, I need to change it to production properties. That is the challenge. Every environment will have its own database, and every database will have separate credential, separate configuration properties like username, comma, password, and URL. Driver class is not going to change. Only username, password, URL will be changed. If we want to deploy our code into multiple environments, then we have to change data source properties. Data source properties in the application.properties file. How many times you want to deploy? Those many times we need to change our data source properties in the application.properties file. Today, 50 times I am deploying my project into multiple environments. What is the problem? 50 times I need to change my data source properties. When I am changing those many times, is there any chance of doing the mistake? There is a chance of doing the mistake. To avoid this problem, in the Spring Boot, there is a concept called profiles concept. There is a concept called profiles concept in the Spring Boot. What we will do by using these profiles? Currently, we are having one properties file with a name called application.properties. There is one properties file available with a name called application.properties. Now, in this application.properties file, we are configuring our data source properties. Okay. From now onwards, we should not configure data source properties in this file. What we will do is, for every environment, we will create a separate file like application_dev.properties. Okay. Application_dev.properties. What will be there in the dev.properties? Dev environment database credentials will be available. Similarly, we are going to specify application_sit.properties, and we will go for application_uat.properties, application_pilot.properties, and we will go for application_prod.properties. Okay, guys. Now, multiple property files will be created. The file will start with application_profile name, dev sit, UAT, pilot, and prod. Like this, we are going to create multiple property files in the project. Now, in the dev properties file, I will configure dev database credential. In the sit properties file, I will configure sit properties. Similarly, in the UAT, pilot, and prod. Now, when I am deploying my application to the dev environment, I will enable the profile. I will set profile is equal to dev. I will set profile is equal to dev. When I set the profile is equal to dev, what will happen? It will load the properties from the dev properties file. Are you guys clear? Now, if I want to deploy to the SIT environment, what I will do? I will change the profile to SIT. So changing one property is easy. Instead of changing username, password, URL every time. Now, in the profiles, I'm going to configure dev properties, sit properties in the separate configuration file. Whenever we are deploying our project to the dev environment, I will enable dev profile. When I enable dev profile, application will load the properties from this properties file. Suppose if I enable the profile as a SIT, it will load the properties from the SIT. So in which environment you are deploying the project, that profile you have to activate. When you activate that profile, application will load the properties from that profile. Okay. This one is easy. Changing username, password, URL is easy every time. Changing the profile is easy. So now, mainly Spring Boot profiles are used for loading environment specific configuration. When my project is deploying to dev environment, I want to load the dev properties. When my project is deploying in the SIT environment, it should load the SIT properties. Are you guys clear? Now, let me create this. Whatever the properties file is available, let me copy, and for this file, let me give dev.properties. And similarly, let me go here and let me keep it as sit.properties. Okay. In the dev properties, I will keep my username, my database username, my database password. Okay. What is the database name? Dev. It is a dev DB. It is a dev DB. Similarly, I will go for sit properties. In the sit properties, the database name is sitdb. Okay. Now go to main properties file. Do I need to write the properties here? Now what I need to write? Activate the profile. Spring dot profiles dot active. I will give the profile name as a dev. So this is used to activate a profile in the project. When I am setting profiles.active is equal to dev, what is the meaning of that? It will load the properties from the dev. So in the dev properties file, what is there? Dev database is available. When I set the profile as a sit, then it will load the sit properties. In the sit properties, what is the database name? Sit database is available. Are you guys clear? Good. Now, let me go to my database. I created all these databases. Let me go for use devdb. I'm going for use devdb. In the devdb, let me execute show tables. Now in the devdb, any table is available or table is not available? Table is not available in the dev database. Now, which profile I'm activating? Dev. What it has to do? Connect to the dev database. Okay. Now, here if you observe, in my project, I am having dev properties, sit properties, application.properties. Now, go to application. Let me execute insert. I want to insert one record into database table. Yeah. So here, my record insertion logic is available. In which database it will be inserted now? Why devdb? Profile name I have given as a dev. Refresh. Run this application. Run as boot app. See the console. Updating the project, right click, run as boot application. Find to find a suitable driver class. Application underscore dev dot properties. Application underscore sit dot properties. Application dot properties. Spring profiles active is a dev. Data source username URL password. Correct. Yeah, username password same. Just database name I have changed. Spring dot profiles dot active. That is dev is the profile name I have given. Application underscore dev dot properties, sit properties, properties name dev I have given. Refresh, run as boot application. What it is saying that the following one profile is active, the dev profile is active. Failed to determine suitable driver. Yeah, I have given file name incorrect, sir. This is not underscore, that is a hyphen. Okay. Now my table is created. Go to the database. I'm using which database now? DevDB. Check the tables. In the database, do we have account table? Now let me select star from account underscore table. Select star from account underscore table. Now can you see record is inserted? Yes, record is inserted. Now if I go for C2 database, is available in the C2 database, C2DB, show tables, any table available? No. Now I want to deploy my project in the SIT database. Then what I need to do? What I need to do? I need to activate the SIT profile. I need to activate SIT profile. Now go to our application, run our project, run as boot application. Check the console. In the console, you can see which profile is activated. The following one profile is active. Which profile is active? SIT profile is active. Now go to this use SIT-DB, show tables and select a star from table name. Record is inserted or not? Yes, with this, what is a profile? Why we need to go for profile? What is a profile and why we need to go for a profile? Yeah, now see here, when we are creating our project, this is a default file I got. The default file is what? Application.properties. Now to configure dev environment properties, I'm creating a separate file called application-dev.properties. First I created with underscore, that is not a correct naming convention. When you are creating a properties file with the profile, we need to give application-profile name.properties. What is my profile name? Dev. Similarly, if you want to go for SIT, application-sit.properties. Dev SIT are called as the profile name. So here you no need to give only dev. You can give anything. Application-dev env.properties, application-sit env.properties you can give. Whatever the name you give for the environment profile, that name you need to activate. So if I give SIT, what will happen? It will find a file which is having with SIT.properties. Application-SIT properties file is loaded. Got it? Fine. Now here we have seen that if we want to deploy our code into multiple environments, then we have to change data source properties in the application properties file for every deployment. For every deployment. it is not recommended. Why it is not recommended? Why it is not recommended? When we are modifying the properties, there is a chance of doing the mistake. Today, we are seeing only database properties. Tomorrow, Apache Kafka will be different, Redis cache will be different, SMTP will be different, and third-party URLs we want to access, those URLs will be different, right? So, not only database properties, several other properties also will be available. So, now here, the first thing is database will be different. DB properties will be different from environment to environment. SMTP properties will be different from environment to environment. And the third one, Kafka properties will be different from environment to environment. And Redis properties will be different from environment to environment. And the next one, REST API endpoint URLs will be different. REST API endpoint URLs will be different. So assume that there are 40 properties available in our YML. 40 properties I want to change for every environment. Is it easy? It is very difficult, and there is a chance of doing the mistakes also. Now, to avoid this problem, so if we want to deploy our code into multiple environments, then we have to change configuration properties. We have to change configuration properties in the properties file. For every deployment, it is not recommended. Okay, to avoid this problem, we will use profiles in Spring Boot. We will use profiles in Spring Boot. What is the benefit with the profile? What is the profile in the Spring Boot? What is the profiles in the Spring Boot? Profiles are used to configure environment specific properties. Profiles are used to configure environment specific properties. So what we are going to do, application-dev.properties file, and we are going to specify application-sit.properties, and we will specify application-uat.properties. Okay, and application-pilot.properties, UAT properties and pilot properties, and application-prod.properties. So like this, multiple environments will be available. For every environment, one profile will be created. Profiles are used to configure environment specific properties. In application.properties, what I need to do? We need to activate profile. In application.properties file, we need to activate profile. How to activate the profile? spring.profiles.active.dev. What is the meaning of that? Activating dev profile. Activating dev profile. What is the meaning of activating dev profile? With the above that above property represents. What is the above property represent? Above property represents application should load properties from dev properties file. Application should load the properties from dev properties file. Tomorrow, I want to deploy my application in the UAT. Then what I will do? Simply I will configure UAT. So it will load the properties from the UAT file. I want to deploy in the dev. Then what I will do? I will go for dev. Are you guys clear with my point? Yes, good. What is the profile in the Spring Boot? Why we need to go for profiles in the Spring Boot? Come on. Profiles are used to maintain environment specific properties. Profiles are used to configure environment specific properties like below. Application-dev, application-sit, UAT, pilot, prod. So whenever we have multiple profiles, we need to tell to the Spring Boot application which profile it has to use to load the configuration. I'm activating the profile by using spring.profiles.active is equal to dev. So dev profile will be activated. What is the meaning of activating the dev? it represents application should load the properties from dev properties file. Tomorrow when I am deploying the project to SIT environment, then simply I will change it to SIT. Okay. Sir, why we need to make this? Because in the real time, database properties will change from one environment to another environment. SMTP properties will change, Kafka properties will change, Redis properties will change, REST API endpoint URLs also will change from environment to environment. Assume that there are 40 properties available. 40 properties are different from one environment to another environment. So when I want to deploy, do you think that I will change 40 properties every time? Not recommended at all. There may be a chance of doing the mistake when we are changing all the properties for every deployment. Every environment properties we will configure in a separate profile. When I am deploying the project to the dev environment, I will activate the dev profile. When I am deploying to the SIT, I will activate SIT profile. When I am deploying to the prod, I will activate prod profile. Like this, multiple environments deployments will become easy when we use a profiles concept in the Spring Boot. Are you guys clear? Good. So tell me, what is profile? Why we need to go for profile? What is profile? Why we need to go for profile? Come on. Profiles are used to maintain environment specific configuration. When we are deploying the project to a particular environment, we can activate that particular profile. How to activate that profile? How to activate that profile? Spring.profiles.active profile name. What is the profile name? What is the profile name? Whatever you give here, whatever the name you give here, that is called your profile name. Can I give this name as a dev env? Any name you can give. Any name you can give. I'm giving as a dev, as the environment profile. So this name only we have to activate here. Then boot will load the properties from this properties file. Are you guys able to understand? Same concept already there in the YouTube. I uploaded a video. Working with profiles in the Spring Boot. 2 years back, I explained that. 1 second. Right. Now, 2 years back, 1 hour video I prepared. Now, what is that? Dev environment, QA, UAT, pilot, prod environment is available. Now you got the clarity. What is profile? How to work with the profile? Application.properties file will be available. Application-dev properties, QA nothing but SIT, UAT, pilot, prod. So when we have that properties, so environment specific properties we are going to configure, and we need to enable that particular properties file. Same thing will be applicable for the YML also. We don't know what is YML. We will discuss in the coming classes. Currently, we are working with the properties files. Good. So with this, we understood what is profile concept and how to work with the profiles concept. Anybody having any questions on the profiles? First, online people. Any doubts, anybody? You can unmute your mic and speak out. All clear? Good. Shubham. Anyone from online? Pramod? Pramod Sahu, I can't hear your voice.
Sir, by using the profile annotation, only for the application is segregated.
Sorry, can you come again?
By using the profile annotations.
By using profile annotation also, we can specify which profile we want to enable. That is a programmatic approach. Okay. So if you don't want to use the programmatic approach, you can activate the profile like this.
Okay.
Right.
Hi, sir. This is Surendra.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can.
I have one question. I was trying yesterday by using custom select query. Let me give the example. Okay. I have the author table. Author has 3 attributes: author name, author city, author ID.
Okay.
By using custom query, I want to populate only author city author name and author,
You do one
author
thing.
city.
You do one thing. Write down your query and send in the group. I will read that. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, sir. This is application name is a fixed pattern or
Yeah, it
prefix
is a
means
fixed pattern here. Then proper guys, listen. Whenever we are using the properties file, the name of this file is fixed value application. We can't change that value, right? That is the predefined name that Spring Boot will use. The extension, either you can use properties file or you can use YML file. In the WebMVC concepts, I'm going to explain difference between properties file and YML file. Yes.
And one more thing, sir. How
Yeah.
it's a loading in the internally means how it's calling this application dot
That is
properties.
a bootstrap context, madam. In the Spring Boot, classes are
Okay.
available. In that
Yeah, yeah,
classes,
yeah.
logic is available to load the properties.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yep.
Hello, sir. Pramod
Yeah,
here.
hi.
Sir, actually, the pilot environment actually I did not use what like already dev environment, QA.
Some companies will have pilot. Some company projects will not have pilot. Pilot means pre-production environment, which is used. It is another testing environment to test our application with the live data. Some projects will have pilot. Some projects will not have pilot. If it is
So
a
actually-
complex large scale application, then pilot also will be available.
Yeah, who is actually testing that actually pilot? Like UAD, the client
Testers,
is like
testers will be available. Testing team.
Okay.
Testing team
Sir,
will test it.
Okay, they got it. Sir, one small question. Actually, suppose in in Spring Boot, actually the Tomcat server embedded. So if I change to Tomcat to
Yeah,
like
in the WebMVC, you will understand how to change the another Tomcat server, how to deploy to the external server. We will discuss in the coming classes.
yeah, that's one interview asked actually. So I
Yeah.
did. I told actually the application like properties file I have to change.
No. In the pom.xml, you need to make that change.
Okay, informed that. So I did wrong. I think. I don't know that I given
So
interview.
if you
wrong.
want to change that from Tomcat to some other server, you need
Yes,
to make
yes,
some changes in the pom.xml.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. I
So
got
what
it.
is difference between sir profile and actuators? This is the
Actuator
same.
is a different story, sir. Today you understand the profile, right? Actuator will come in the future classes.
Okay.
Okay.
Sir, how to use a profile annotation? Means
We'll,
where to
we'll
use.
explain that, sir. That is a programmatic approach, no?
Okay.
And also, sir, actually, I have some more question like that. I'm actually confused. Like I am not able to explain the project level architecture. Actually, they asked actually second round for one company. First round I cleared. At second company, they asked actually to project the details for end to end. How
You are
would
from
it?
JRTP batch or which batch?
No, actually, I am not JRTP batch.
If you are not from JRTP, then I can't tell you what is the project and all. Okay. In the project batch, we'll discuss the project architecture and all.
Okay, in this project, no, actually, they will not talk about, right?
Sir, project
Like,
architecture is not something that I can explain in the 1 hour or 2 hours. It is 45 days course. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
sir.
Hi, sir. This is Surendra. I just pinged my question.
Yeah. Hi, Surendra. Yeah, I have given you in the custom query, we need to specify select property names from table name. So when I explain the HQL, I explained what is projection. You need to write a projection query to load the required columns data only from the table, not all the columns. Generally, we will let the select star, it will give all the columns, but you want subset of columns, you need to write a custom query for that. Custom query you need to execute as a by using @ query annotation. Fine.
Okay.
Good. Thank you guys. We'll meet in the next Monday class.